folks, welcome into another edition of That Betting Show, July 2nd, 2019, your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. He's Teddy Savranti. Give him a follow on Twitter at Teddy_covers. I'm Donnie Seymour at Rightside VP. Still waiting on Kawhi out here, Teddy. But yet another month, another Major League home run record has been broken. Let's get right to the hot topics. We're all waiting for Kawhi, and the odds are due to shift once we get an actual decision from Kawhi Leonard, who we're seeing reports he's going to choose the Clippers. Oh, no, he canceled the Clippers. He's going to choose the Lakers. Oh, my goodness, he hasn't met with them yet. He is going to stay in Toronto all along. Teddy, what's going on out here in the field?
Well, the answer is, from a betting market standpoint, frankly, nobody has any idea. So what you're seeing is a lot of bets here in Vegas in the future market, and they're betting basically on steam, on air, on maybe he's going to go here, maybe he's going to go there. Where Kawhi lands will most assuredly affect the future book odds. There's no question about it, and he is the biggest name remaining. That being said, there are a couple of teams that I think have been really overlooked in terms of what they've done in recent weeks. They made them real. Look at Indiana right now. Indiana looks really good. You bring in T.J. Warren, you bring in Malcolm Brogdon, you got Oladipo coming back, Miles Turner developing into a star. The Pacers, to me, look like a scary team in the East. No one's talking about Indiana. They're not taking up on a bunch of future book money. Same story in the West with a team like Utah. When you get Mike Conley to go along with Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, guess what? You got a big three. Then you add Bogdanovich and Ed Davis over the weekend. That's huge ads. Utah's very live in the West, and they're not being looked at yet in the betting markets as contenders. So that's two teams, in my opinion, two smaller market squads that you're looking for futures. You want to get some money down now? Maybe take a look at the Jazz or the Pacers. They've made appropriate moves, even though they haven't garnered the headlines here in the first part of NBA free agency.
Teddy, you make a pretty good point there, because most times when we're looking at, where's Kawhi going to go, people are betting saying, all right, well, if he goes to the Lakers, yep, they're going to be the odds-on favorite to win the NBA championship. What happens if he goes to the Clippers? If you jump the gun before he goes there to try to beat the odds, and also if he stays back home in Toronto. But you bring up a good point when you're talking about Indiana in the East, and you're talking about, maybe the Utah Jazz in the West, because if Kawhi Leonard chooses the Los Angeles Lakers, those odds might get a little bit steeper there for the Utah Jazz, and vice versa back in East, because if he chooses to go out West, Kawhi Leonard, then you're looking at Indiana maybe in more of a clear path to possibly get to the NBA Finals. From a futures perspective, talking about it, instead of looking maybe those top teams, can you find a little bit better odds, maybe a little bit better pricing if you can get those teams that are faced against Kawhi if he chooses the other conference?
Yes, but you'll have to wait for him to choose the other conference in order to make those bets to theoretically get better odds. And I'll be honest, at this stage of the NBA offseason, books are really quick to adjust lines down once teams start taking money. They're not quite as quick to adjust them up for the teams that aren't taking money. So I would bet it sooner rather than later if you like the futures for either of those two teams. I'm not convinced that the markets have caught up with where they are right now, and that type of discrepancy won't last forever. So when you see a team like the Pacers or the Jazz that have that potential, you want to get a future book wager down, now's the time to do it, earlier rather than later.
Yep, and we'll probably have these answers over the next 24 to 48 hours. We'll keep you updated right here on That Betting Show at sportsbookreview.com. But let's get into Monday's baseball card. It wasn't a deep card, Teddy, but boy, they sure got after it with scoring. Started with Canada Day, and as we like to point out on the show, Teddy, when you open up and let the elements get in there, let that heat and humidity get in, it certainly was on display in Canada as we had an 11 spot for the Blue Jays, an 11-4 win. The Pirates, how about this, Teddy? I like to hit on some team totals every once in a while. That divisional rivalry between the Milwaukee Bucks and Pittsburgh over the past 3 games, not much went on there. And then, they step back outside, Teddy, and notch 18 runs in the very next game. A day late and $1 short for me on those, but also the Giants in a hitters-friendly ballpark, not so much. Pitchers love to pitch at Petco. 13 spot for the Giants offense. Craziness.
Yeah, and that was one that got me, unfortunately. I didn't see the Giants doing that. That Brewers-Reds game is worth talking about. The first 5 stays under, so 1-0 game after 5, and then it ends up being 8-6. Cincy has been the exception. This has been an over season in MLB. There are a handful of teams that have significant over biases. There's one team in MLB, and really the only one that has, this probably might be a second, but Cincy, the strongest under bias in all of baseball. They've been the number 1 under team by margin. How do you get to be the number 1 under team? Well, your starting pitching's got to be good, your bullpen's got to be good, and your lineup's got to be cold. 2 of those 3 remain in place. for Cincinnati. Their starting pitching still pretty good. Their lineup still pretty cold. But the bullpen for the Reds, which has been so good, hasn't been good over the last week or so. That's a big problem for underbettors in Cincinnati, and it's a big problem for the Reds moving forward.
Yep, full slate in Major League Baseball. We'll attack that a little bit later on this show. But let's get to a little bit of football, Ted. As we said, it's already in July. We're moving forward. Next month, Teddy, you will have live game action for college football. Today's top 20 college football preview on that betting show going to be the Penn State Nittany Lions. Set up this year, Teddy, 66-1 to win the NCAA title. Nittany Lions team total is set at 8.5 minus 145. Last year, Penn State finished 9-4 and 6-3 in Big Ten play. James Franklin comes into another season. You're losing your quarterback who you knew was going to be there game in, game out, dual threat, and Trace McSorley over the past 3 years. He's gone. You thought you had that figured out, Teddy, and yet you have a transfer over. So now you're looking at a sophomore quarterback and a freshman quarterback to try to compete and lead your team into Big Ten play. Also very young at wide receiver as well for the Penn State team. The one thing that we like is they always have a nice home field advantage. And if you have a young team trying to break in a new quarterback, Teddy, what's the best way to do that? Open up with some home games. They're going to open up the slate with Idaho, Buffalo, and Pittsburgh. Hope to jump out to a 3-0 start. The Penn State Nittany Lions, Teddy, today's team on that betting show.
Yeah, and from a pure talent perspective, James Franklin is putting something together in Happy Valley. This team has had 3 consecutive recruiting classes ranked among the top dozen in college football. There's talent, no question, plenty of talent, but there are also significant graduation losses, particularly on the offensive side of the football. You talked about McSorley, and now they have to replace McSorley. And look, they'll be able to do that, but, 5 starters left early, underclassmen for the NFL draft. 11 different players entered the transfer portal. So that's a lot of attrition for one off season. James Franklin, quote, "We've got a lot of question marks, obviously, with some of the guys we've lost. But I also think there's a lot of excitement for the upcoming season." I don't disagree with that. Tommy Stevens looks like he's going to be the guy. He's got a total of 7 career passes so far at QB. Offensive line has 3 returning starters. That's probably a good sign. But when it comes to skill position talent, when it comes to breaking in the new QB, when it comes to potentially a redshirt freshman at left tackle to open the season, I'm not convinced this offense is going to be putting up points in bunches, at least out of the gate. On the defense side of the football, look, this squad looks really good. With the coordinator, Brent Pry, brings the heat. Last year, Penn State led FBS in sacks, 4th in tackles for loss per game, and big returns on the defensive side of the football. When you get Gross Matos back and Robert Windsor back, veterans in the secondary, strong in the safety position. This defense looks pretty good. They're going to be able to rush the passer. They're going to be able to defend the pass. And I don't see teams putting up points in bunches on Penn State. Given their offensive growing pains, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Penn State plays in more than their fair share of low-scoring games early in the season. I'm looking to bet the Nittany Lions under the total on a week-in, week-out basis as they try to get this offense up to speed.
Yep, Teddy. And we always remember as gamblers some of the bad beats or crazy games that we had. I remember a game last year dipping in early in the season of college football, Teddy. I was on Illinois plus 28 at home on a Friday night versus Penn State and had to leave the third quarter, Teddy, and I wasn't able to cover. How about that, kid? Did you have that game, Teddy? Because I'm already getting nightmares talking about Penn State.
I did. That was Illinois. That wasn't Penn State. Although Penn State played really well, but the Illini could not take a punch very well last year. That was a game that showed it for everyone to see. Yeah, that was fun. Thanks for bringing up memory. Yeah, I appreciate it.
It was a lot of fun there. Miles Sanders running wild and late hits in that game. But look at that. See, even on a live show here, we can just get after it and get upset about previous bets that we had, so we keep an eye on college football. We'll get you guys ready for opening day in college football. Segment number 2, overnight line movers. Where's the best place in the industry to get those overnight line moves? Of course, it's SBRodds.com. Here's one that's changing here. A Subway Series in New York City with the Mets getting some money. Yankees open up around 160, dips to about 145. Taking a look at SBRodds.com right now, and we're seeing some 140s across the board. Mets plus 131, total of 9. Paxton versus Wheeler.
Yeah, and of course the markets are moving here. They want to be betting on Wheeler, and they don't love Paxton. Paxton's not getting the ground ball outs this year. There have been times that he's taken a ton of wise guy support. This season's advanced metrics, not one of those times. Meanwhile, Wheeler, he's got a 304 BABIP, batting average on balls in play, which is high, and a 67% strand rate, which means when guys gets on base, they're scoring against him. That's low. That means his xFIP, his fielding independent pitching adjusted, is lower than his ERA. And when a pitcher's xFIP is lower than his ERA. They tend to take money. That's why the markets are betting the Mets today. Plain and simple. They like Wheeler. They don't like Paxton.
Braves and Phillies going to tee it up today. Obviously, the Braves have a first-game lead by about 5 games in the NL East. Second time around, right through, just in Atlanta. Now coming back before the Phillies do head home. They're going to hit Atlanta again. Braves open up around 130, drop to around 120. Now we're sitting around pick'ems, but a lot of things have to do because Aaron Nola has now been placed in as the starter going against Dallas Keuchel. Nola back in the form. Keuchel looking to regain his form. Should be a good one down in Atlanta tonight, Teddy.
Yeah, and the markets aren't sold on Keuchel. We've seen that already, and his first 2 starts have been spotty. Let's just put it that way. Whereas Nola's last 2 starts have been completely dominant. 7 and 8 innings, so 15 combined innings, 1 earned run allowed, 20 strikeouts, 21 ground ball outs, only 2 walks, only 12 fly ball outs during that span. So those are the type of numbers that betting markets definitely pay attention to. All that being said, the Braves hit him hard 3 starts ago, prior to these last 2 dominant efforts. And you want to talk about a weird home road dichotomy. Nola wasn't this pitcher earlier in his career. This year, a 2.85 ERA at home in 11 starts. In 6 road starts, his ERA is over 7. The markets are saying that's an aberration, not a trendsetter. And obviously expecting good things from Nola today with the money coming on Philadelphia.
How about this one, Teddy? Taking a look at elevation if it's already bad. If you have a guy named Urquidy that's going to get the start for the Houston Astros. And, oh, yeah, let's not forget, winds blowing out over double digits in Coors. So we have a posted total here of 13. Astros, Rockies, with the Rockies actually favored at -129 with German Marquez on the mound. But, hey, it looks like we're going to get some batters. We're going to get some pitchers that were questionable, and we're going to get some good hitting conditions. 13 on the board, Teddy, in Colorado today.
Well, what do we got? We have 7 all-star batters between these 2 teams. You know, Bregman, Springer, Brantley for Houston. We have Dahl, Story, who's going to be back in the lineup for the Rockies this weekend. Blackman and Arenado for Colorado. Those are a lot of big bets. But the key issue with the 13 here, with Marquez on the hill, who's the Rockies' ace, look at the current homestand. 4 games. 20 runs, 22, 8, and 15. Their last homestand, 27, 22, 28, 15, 12, 13, 11. Hard to be betting unders in Coors right now. And the market's saying that very clearly, regardless of the starting pitching matchup, regardless of the Rockies' ace being on the hill, the ball is carrying game in, game out. And when you're getting routinely 15, 20, 25 runs in these games, yeah, 13s are warranted at Coors at this stage of the campaign.
No doubt about it. We've seen games many times at Coors, Teddy, 1-0, 2-1 after 5, and then like we call Coors magic happens after dark, and we'll see if that happens tonight. But a 13 on the board, winds blowing out, should be a fun one to watch. Watch what you bet here on that betting show on sportsbookreview.com. Pittsburgh looks to keep the bats hot. How hot can they keep them? 18 spot? Maybe not so much tonight as we take a look. The Pirates getting +122 tonight with a total of 9. The Cubs 45-40 on the season. The Pirates 40-43. Hendricks versus Musgrove tonight.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Pirates' bats are hot right now. 23 hits on Monday, 18 runs. That's the 4th time in the last 8 games that they scored 10 runs or more. And it's a Cubs team that is failing routinely on the highway. They're 4-13 on the road their last 17 tries. You know, you don't expect that from Chicago. Kyle Hendricks coming off the injured list today. He will be on a pitch count. They're talking 60 to 70 pitches behind him. That Cubs bullpen has been spotty of late, to put it mildly, obviously. You know, and Hendricks was great before going on the DL, but and he had a great bullpen session. He didn't even need a rehab start, supposedly. But he's not going to go deep into the ballgame tonight. Musgrove's been really good his last couple of starts for Pittsburgh. No question about it. 1 run over 13 innings, 13 strikeouts, no walks during that span. Clint Hurdle, quote, he made pitches throughout against Houston his last start. He limited the barrel. He limited hard contact. I love the fact that his first pitch strikes were so efficient. I think it was 19 out of 26, and he had 11 guys retired on 3 pitches or less. He had 1 3-ball count, no walks on the day. He was on attack from the start. Worth noting, Musgrove has owned the Cubs a .37 ERA in 4 previous starts against them. I could only look at the Pirates side in this one.
Yeah, and also taking a look there with the PNC Bark, it looks like 88 degrees, Teddy. First pitch, wind blowing out, dead center field, about 8 miles an hour. So we got some hitting weather. Speaking of hitting weather, Milwaukee looks to make it 2 in a row over Cincinnati. 90 at first pitch due in Cincinnati with the wind blowing out also. So that's where we see that total of 10.5. The Reds basically pick them in the game, minus 101, depending on where you're shopping at SBRodds.com. Brewers 46-39 on the season. The Reds 38-44. It's going to be Anderson and Roark on the mound tonight.
Yeah, I mean, the guy we should talk about is Yelich, the NL MVP, who hit another bomb last night, Major League 30th home run in the Brewers win. He's doesn't have a great track record against Roark, but he did go yard against him when they met last month. That was the only run Roark allowed in his 6 innings of work in that ball game. But the Brewers team that is certainly capable of finding their way. And Anderson is a squad, is a hurler. I'm saying who he's not an ace. He's not priced as an ace, but he got his first win in nearly a month last Thursday. 2 runs, 1 earned on 3 hits and 5 1/3 against the Mariners. Hasn't got a great track record against Cincy, but Cincy stopped hitting. I mean, not that they haven't really been hitting well all year. It's a weak lineup. The Reds have been successful, moderately successful this season. All the successes come because their bullpen's been dynamite. Their pitching staff's been dynamite. Now we're seeing that bullpen starting to get lit up a little bit. The last 4 games, 16 runs, 15 of them earned on 16 hits in 8 innings. That's an issue moving forward, and that may well be an issue tonight for Cincinnati. Manager David Bell, quote, "You can't take anything from what our bullpen has done all year. It didn't work out on Monday." Oops. I worry about Cincy right now. I don't want any part of the Reds this final week before the All-Star break. They should be winning these games. The fact they're not, the fact their bullpen's collapsing. I've got, I was a little bit high on Cincy going into this homestand than I am right now. I'm not backing the Reds this evening.
Yeah, it was interesting, Teddy, because we're going to take a look at another game tonight with the bats coming out hot for the Giants last night. We'll see if they can extend it there. Opening up today, Strom's going to be on the mound, the lefty, and we're looking at a minus 170, minus 175, but now sitting at SBRodds.com right around the 155 level, the total of 8.5. The Giants come into this game, Teddy, 37-47 on the season, 19-22 away. The Padres 42-42 now on the season, and 23-22 at home tonight. As we said, Beatty versus Strom.
Well, I laid a run and a half with the Padres last night. At least it wasn't a sweat. You're not going to have more wrong side losers than that one, unfortunately. 13-2 Giants win. Back-to-back double-digit offensive outputs for a Giants team that hasn't hit the ball at all this season. Bruce Bochy after the game, this is one of our better all-around efforts. Of course, it's hard to make a case for Beatty, who's got a 7.11 ERA in 25 innings on the road this season. He's faced San Diego twice in his career. The Padres lit him up both times, 9 runs, 11 hits, and 8 1/3 against him. Opposing, Beatty's not getting any. He's allowing almost 2 base runners per innings, 42 hits, 28 walks, and just 37.2 innings of work this season. He's not a pitcher that I can put my money on right now, even with that Giants offense rolling. Strom for San Diego, had been pretty good his last time out. He got smacked around. His quote, "The 3 starts before his last start against Baltimore wasn't me out there. I felt good. I was attacking the zone. I eliminated the walks." He's given up multiple dingers in each of his last 6 starts. That's a concern for anyone looking to bet the under at Petco this evening.
Yeah, hard to gauge, man. I mean, in San Francisco, we look at it, and you look at that lineup there, a lot of red lights, as we like to say, but all of a sudden sometimes can bust out. But as we say, that's baseball, because you go with, 5 total runs in that Pittsburgh series, and then they score 18 in one game the following night. So we'll keep an eye on that as the summer goes along. Off the mic segment today, Teddy. Never too early to talk hot dog contest on July 4th and some interesting stuff coming up, because in the advent of legalized gambling, as it is crossing the nation and each state seemingly turning on by a weekly to weekly process, they banned the Nathan's Hot Dog Contest wagering, so you can't do it live, but that's where the offshore markets step in. You can still have your fun over there, Teddy. You could still bet to see how many hot dogs some of these guys are going to eat. Joey Chestnut, of course, always coming in as a favorite, but also I did want to bring this one thing up, because in the advent of gambling coming across legally, you're seeing some people getting into the business and writing about it, and there was a firestorm yesterday, Teddy, on Kawhi Leonard saying, we know in Las Vegas, Kawhi Leonard's prop and where he was going was pulled off the board, and a lot of people chiming in back and forth saying that was never a prop bet. So just because we have the advent of legalized gambling crossing, some things you can bet on, some things you can't, Teddy.
Look, the mainstream media is going to take any betting information and say that it comes from Vegas. I've seen Vegas odds coming from offshore books, okay, when it comes to mainstream. If you want good gambling information, don't watch mainstream media. Watch us. Watch any of the SBR shows. You'll get quality gambling information that isn't tainted by people that don't know anything about gambling and are trying to write about it. When it comes to the Nathan's hot dog eating contest, all right, and this is one I don't get. All right, they got a request from the bookmakers in New Jersey to allow betting for Nathan's. Now, the bookmakers in New Jersey allowed betting on the Oscars, for example. Quote, the division has received multiple requests. After reviewing the relevant information on integrity issues, the division has determined that pre-event betting on the Oscars can be offered. So you bet the Oscars, why can't you bet the hot dog eating contest? I don't understand why New Jersey said no. And if I don't understand it, nobody understands it because I understand gambling and I've been doing this for a while. So why not make it clear why you're not allowing betting for the Nathan's hot dog contest? Don't give us bullshit because we can smell it. Thanks so much, New Jersey. Appreciate your time.
Tremendous close by Teddy right there. And that'll do it today on That Betting Show for July 2nd, 2019. Your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. Once again, he's Teddy Savranti. Give him a follow on Twitter at Teddy_covers. I'm Donnie Seymour at Rightside VP. We'll be back tomorrow to get everything covered, setting up for the weekend. And oh, yes, there is a big soccer game today that we might cover tomorrow, pending on the results. Thanks for tuning in. Good luck on your tickets tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow.